Alright, greetings everyone, my people. Wonder shall never end. This is the biggest of it all. This is the highest threat so far. America have waited for this day, and here it is. As I'm speaking to you, Nigeria have crossed the red line. You can do everything and get away with it, but on this very one, America can never take it lightly with you if you dare temper their economy. Now the Nigeria have crossed the red line. The worst is about to happen. So please, I'm urging you to watch this video. Watch this video before you start saying, where is the video? The video is here. Come, let's enjoy the video. You'll be shocked and amazing for what you're about to watch. Let's watch it.
What happened in Lagos yesterday will destroy the American empire faster than any nuclear weapon ever could. I've studied great power transitions for 50 years, witnessed the collapse of the Soviet Union, analyzed every major shift in global dominance since the Congress of Vienna. But what I observed from my office at the University of Chicago yesterday morning stopped me mid-sentence during a lecture on hegemonic stability theory. My phone buzzed with a breaking news alert that made every theoretical framework I've spent decades building suddenly, terrifyingly real. Trump just threatened military action against Nigeria, not for harboring terrorists, not for invading neighbors, but for accepting payment for oil in currencies other than the dollar. Let me be clear about what this means. For the first time in modern history, the United States has explicitly threatened war to maintain monetary dominance. We've crossed a line that even the most aggressive empires in history hesitated to cross. And Nigeria, this supposed client state that we've taken for granted for decades, looked us straight in the eye and said no. But here's what nobody in Washington understands yet. And this is where my analysis of great power behavior becomes absolutely crucial. Nigeria's defiance isn't just about currency arrangements. It's proof that the unipolar moment has ended, and American policymakers are the last people on earth to realize it. I need to take you back to a conversation I had in 2019 with a senior Pentagon official. We were discussing contingency planning for potential conflicts, and I asked him a simple question. What happens when countries stop needing our permission to trade? His response haunts me now. John, that's not a scenario we planned for. That's not a scenario that can happen. Well, it just happened. And the reaction from Washington proves we never had a plan for this moment. Here's what you need to understand about Nigeria's decision, because the mainstream media is completely missing the strategic implications. This isn't just Africa's most populous nation making an economic choice. This is the domino that starts the entire dollar system collapsing, and I'll explain exactly why. Nigeria sits at the intersection of three critical fault lines in global power. First, it's the gateway to West African markets representing over 400 million people. Second, it controls some of the world's largest untapped oil reserves at a time when energy security has become paramount for every major power. Third, and this is the part that should terrify Washington strategists, Nigeria has become the testing ground for China's alternative economic model. But there's something else, something I discovered through my contacts in intelligence circles that hasn't been reported anywhere. Nigeria's currency decision wasn't spontaneous. It was coordinated with a network of countries that have been quietly building financial infrastructure designed specifically to bypass American oversight for the past 3 years. The phone call that changed everything happened at 2:17 a.m. Washington time last Tuesday. Nigeria's finance minister was on a secure line with counterparts in Brazil, India, and South Africa, finalizing the technical details of what they're calling the Southern Corridor payment system. By the time Trump woke up and started threatening war, the infrastructure to trade without dollars was already operational. I've seen the classified briefings. American intelligence knew this was coming and did nothing to prevent it. Why? Because our entire foreign policy establishment operates on the assumption that economic coercion will always work if we apply enough pressure. They never considered that their targets might simply build alternative systems. This is where understanding great power behavior becomes essential, because what Nigeria did follows a pattern I've observed throughout history. When rising powers challenge established hegemons, the challenge doesn't come through direct military confrontation. It comes through what I call competitive institution building. The rising power offers alternatives to the hegemon systems, forcing smaller states to choose between old dominance and new opportunity. Rome faced this when Carthaginian trade networks offered alternatives to Roman economic control. Britain encountered it when German industrial cartels challenged British financial dominance. The Soviet Union attempted it with the Comecon system as an alternative to Western capitalism. Nigeria's currency decision represents the first successful challenge to dollar dominance in the post-Cold War era. But unlike previous attempts, this one is working because it's not ideologically driven, it's purely practical. China didn't offer Nigeria a socialist revolution. They offered railways and ports. Russia didn't demand political alignment. They provided energy technology. India didn't require regime change. They shared pharmaceutical expertise. Brazil didn't impose conditional loans. They offered agricultural cooperation. Meanwhile, what did America offer? Decades of lectures about democracy from politicians who supported military coups when convenient, promises of development aid that never materialized, trade deals that benefited American corporations while leaving Nigerian communities impoverished. The calculation for Nigeria was simple: accept continued subordination to American interests, or build partnerships with powers that respect their sovereignty. They chose sovereignty. Trump's military threats prove that America has run out of non-coercive tools to maintain global dominance. When your only response to economic independence is the threat of violence, you've already lost the legitimacy that makes hegemony sustainable. But here's where the analysis gets really troubling for American strategic planners. Nigeria's successful resistance will inspire similar decisions across the global South. Every threat we make validates their argument that dependence on America carries unacceptable risks. Every escalation drives more countries toward alternative partnerships. I'm watching this pattern accelerate in real time. Brazil and Argentina are expanding local currency trade agreements. Saudi Arabia has begun accepting yuan for oil payments. India and Russia are settling energy transactions without dollars. Malaysia is exploring Islamic finance alternatives to Western banking systems. Each of these decisions further reduces demand for dollars, which undermines the foundation of American economic power. The exorbitant privilege that allows us to print money and have the world accept it as payment depends on mandatory participation. Once participation becomes voluntary, the system unravels quickly. The domestic reaction in Nigeria reveals another dimension of this crisis that American policymakers consistently underestimate. Nigerian civil society has framed their government's decision in explicitly post-colonial terms. University students are celebrating what they call the second independence. Religious leaders are describing it as divine justice for centuries of exploitation. Even Nigerian Americans are expressing pride in their homeland's courage. This isn't just about economics, it's about dignity, respect, and the right to self-determination. America offered Nigeria continued dependence. China offered partnership. Russia offered cooperation. The choice was obvious. The European reaction has been equally telling. Despite pressure from Washington, major European allies have refused to condemn Nigeria's decision. They understand that supporting American economic coercion today could justify similar pressure against their own trade relationships tomorrow. Germany doesn't want to be threatened for accepting rubles. France doesn't want military pressure over yuan trade. Britain doesn't want coercion for diversifying away from dollar dependence. They're hedging their bets, calculating that automatic support for American demands no longer serves their interests. This is what hegemonic decline looks like in practice. Your traditional partners start questioning whether continued alignment is worth the risks. Your threats lose credibility as targets develop alternatives. Your economic leverage disappears as competitors offer better deals. I've been teaching these patterns for decades, but witnessing them in real time is sobering. The post-Cold War assumption that America could dictate terms unilaterally has collided with the reality of a multipolar world where other powers have agency, resources, and alternatives. China's economy now rivals America's in purchasing power parity. India is emerging as a technological superpower. Brazil controls critical agricultural commodities. Nigeria represents Africa's demographic and economic future. These aren't client states anymore. They're independent powers with their own interests and capabilities. American foreign policy hasn't adapted to this new reality. We continue operating as if it's still 1995, demanding structural adjustment while others offer mutual benefit. We impose conditional loans while competitors provide unconditional investment. We threaten sanctions while alternatives offer trade partnerships. The results are predictable if you understand how great powers compete for influence. Countries will choose partnerships that enhance their sovereignty over relationships that diminish it. They'll select economic arrangements that benefit their populations over systems that extract their wealth. Nigeria's decision represents rational adaptation to changing global circumstances. America's threats represent denial of those same circumstances. This disconnect explains why our coercive strategies are failing while Chinese cooperative approaches succeed. The implications extend far beyond Africa or even the global South. We're witnessing a fundamental test of whether international order will be governed by consent or coercion, by mutual benefit or imposed dominance. If America can threaten war to enforce currency compliance, what limits exist on great power behavior? If economic sovereignty can be overruled by military threats, what meaning does independence have in the modern world? Nigeria's message to the global community is clear. Sovereignty is not negotiable. Alternatives exist, and the future belongs to those brave enough to claim their independence. The American century is ending not with military defeat, but with economic irrelevance. The dollar's monopoly is finished. Our hegemonic moment is over. The world is becoming more complex, more contested, and more democratic in the sense that more nations now have meaningful choices about their futures. Trump's threats were meant to preserve American dominance. Instead, they've accelerated its decline by revealing our desperation and ultimate powerlessness. Sometimes the harder an empire squeezes, the faster its subjects slip away. Reality has a way of imposing itself regardless of political preferences. The future will be multipolar whether Washington accepts it or not.
Alright, now that you have watched the video and you confirmed it, can Nigeria get away with this? No, they can never get away with it, because America can never take it lightly with you when you dare temper their economic stronghold. You can never get away with it. It is the biggest fight. This is the great biggest fight they have been fighting with China. And now the Nigeria is the next line. My people, America have been waiting for this day so that they will have every reason to invade Nigeria for their evil atrocity that they have been committing against the Christians. Now, here is an opportunity. So, my people, what are we waiting for? It is a good news. Yes, if Nigeria were to be a viable country, I know quite all right that their own economy should be more stronger and booming than other countries. But because Nigeria is not designed to be a country. Nigeria was designed to fail. Nigeria was designed for the benefit of some individuals. It's not for the real owners. Yes, imagine a foreigner, the Britain, being the people benefiting, the highest beneficiary in this country called Nigeria. So what are we not saying? This is a wake-up development. What we need is for America to step in. Yes, let them stop it, because it's better for us, for this Nigeria, this country, this consortium called Nigeria, to be disintegrated than the way it is, because a common man is crying in desert. So let's wait for it, because I know eventually it must surely happen. So please, my people, who am I? I'm only a messenger. If you love what we do here in this Global Love Channel TV, please do well to touch a hand for subscribe button, like and turn on the notification bell so that whenever we upload a new video, you'll be the first person to be notified. And in doing this, you are encouraging us to do more. And togetherness, we shall save life together. The next time, see you in my next video. Bye for now. Thank you.